start. Hello, my name is Spencer Malcolm, and I just finished watching Color Out of Space. Written by Richard Stanley and Scarlett Ramirez, directed by Richard Stanley, and starring Nicolas Cage as Nathan Gardner, a farmer and family man who one day witnesses a meteorite crash into his front yard, which starts emitting a mysterious color unlike any seen on Earth. That starts to have a strange effect on the surrounding area, including the Gardner family. This is adapted from a short story by H.P. Lovecraft, a man whose influence on the horror genre is about as hard to overstate as how racist, sexist, and generally bigoted he was. He is such an influential figure, in fact, that whenever someone directly adapts one of his stories, there is almost always comparisons to other media that was greatly influenced by his work, usually in a negative or otherwise critical manner. And while yes, this film is very reminiscent of movies like Annihilation, Mandy, The Thing, or Hereditary to an extent, I've always believed that if a film is well crafted enough, it can get away with coming off as a touch derivative. And Color Out of Space is an extremely well crafted movie. Is it for everyone? No, but aside from maybe The Lion King, what is? But if you were to tell me that you thought this movie was terrible, I would completely understand where you're coming from. This movie is so fucking nuts. It's about an evil color. Nicolas Cage does his vampire's kiss voice while screaming at his children about alpacas. It has Tommy Chong as a conspiracy hermit with a cat named G-Spot. And this film worked wonders for me. It is so much fun. But it also doesn't skimp on being creepy as hell. Like, Nicolas Cage's performance is very over the top and ridiculous in the way you would expect from him, but for the story they're trying to tell, it does very much fit. When he's screaming and yelling and doing all of his usual Nick Cage-isms, you're thinking to yourself, man, Nicolas Cage is going completely over the top. This is ridiculous. But you're also thinking, wow, this character is going completely insane. This is absolutely terrifying. Though it does help that the film very much does have a sense of humor about itself. It knows that it's ridiculous. There is one scene in particular that involving a TV and a kitchen knife that balances humor and tension, and in a way that I haven't seen done this effectively since maybe Ghostbusters. Now, that's not exactly a one-to-one comparison. I'm not trying to give off the impression that this is a flat-out horror comedy. It's not. It's just that there were several moments where I was laughing, but it was the kind of nervous, I have no idea how else to react kind of laughter. And that feeling of, this is kind of funny, but also existentially horrifying is kind of the main vibe that this movie is operating on. The best way I could probably describe this movie is like if it's Annihilation's less heady, but more fun and just as creepy cousin. In terms of problems, I'd say for like the first 15 or so minutes, the acting is a bit inconsistent, but by the time the meteorite lands, it's uniformly pretty great. There's also a scene involving headlights that I felt was more trying to be creepy as opposed to just actually being creepy, and another involving a dog and a well, where a character's actions weren't really all that believable, but those are really the only things I took issue with. Color Out of Space is a film that is honestly one Barbara Crampton or Jeffrey Combs cameo away from being the perfect midnight movie. Featuring a tone that really shouldn't work, but thanks to incredible direction, acting, and production design, the film perfectly manages to balance it and offer up a really wild ride in a destined cult classic. I'm going to give Color Out of Space an A. If you like this video, you can show it by doing the usual like, share, subscribe, bell icon routine. I'm Spencer Amalgam, and you know what, before I go, how about I give you my quick thoughts on some other movies that I saw recently, but don't really have the time to give their own review. Okay? Let's do this. Underwater, written by Adam Colsad and Brian Duffield, directed by William Eubank, and starring Kristen Stewart. A great, no bullshit, straight to the point little monster thriller with some great direction, spectacular atmosphere, and a truly amazing performance by Kristen Stewart. If you can stop giving Robert Pattinson shit for Twilight after Good Time in the Lighthouse, you can definitely stop giving Kristen Stewart shit for Twilight after this. Though the film does have some trouble with characterization, and as a result, the only one you really care about is Stewart's character, but overall it was a really fun time. A-. Gretel and Hansel, written by Rob Hayes and Oz Perkins, directed by Oz Perkins, and starring Sophia Lillis. Good direction, atmosphere, a surprisingly synth-heavy score that I didn't think would fit for the story they were trying to tell, but for the most part does. Solid performances by Lillis and Samuel Leake, and one hell of a great performance by Alice Krige as the witch. But the film didn't really grab me until they actually got to the witch's house, and even then I didn't really feel like the film was firing on all cylinders until Gretel and the witch started to develop a dynamic with each other. There were also a few scary moments that were rather oddly executed, though the film was pretty decently disturbing for the most part. And the film uses narration for far too many scenes that would have worked much better without it. But overall, it's a fun time. I'm gonna give this one a B. Check it out, but don't really expect anything groundbreaking. But do check it out. It's the director's other movie, The Black Coat's Daughter. That is a holy shit level of a good movie. Another thing I just watched with Sophia Lillis that I do highly recommend, and is the Netflix series I Am Not Okay With This. This also leans a bit too heavily on narration for like the first 3 or 4 episodes. And the writing in the pilot it have a very adults writing for teenagers vibe for it, but the rest of it just, man, good stuff. Lillis and Wyatt Olaf both give Emmy-worthy performances in this show. That also has some very neat usage of superpowers as an allegory for coming of age and like discovering yourself and other things I don't really want to get into for risk of spoilers. But basically, think of this as like if someone like John Hughes, a very loosely adapted Carrie into a television series. Very loosely. Just check it out. Trust me. A. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. I love that title so much. That's written by Christina Hodgson and directed by Kathy Yan and starring Margot Robbie. Dear all of Hollywood, more like this, please. It was a little scatterbrained at times, but given who the main character is and what the style of the film is going for, that did also kind of add to the charm of the movie. So it's kind of The action scenes were just incredibly visceral, and just a wonder to behold. The script and direction was top-notch. The film managed to actually be very funny while still having some very heavy drama in the same scene and not have those two tones violently clash with each other. All of the acting was outstanding, from Rosie Perez to Janie Smollett-Bell to Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who honestly should have become a huge star a long time ago. But the real standout It's Ewan McGregor as Black Mask and Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. McGregor, like the rest of the film, manages to walk the tightrope between playing a real fun ham of a villain and someone that has a very threatening presence that you're afraid will just snap and kill someone over the smallest thing. And Margot Robbie, I generally don't say this about franchise roles for a few reasons, but I genuinely believe she is Oscar-worthy in this movie. She is just electrifying here. She is so good in this movie that she will get you about as emotionally invested in the protection of an egg sandwich as Avengers Endgame did for the fate of the entire universe. Just fuck. That was a damn good movie. Okay, I'm done now. I'll check out all the things I talked about. Color Out of Space just came out on home video. So maybe like rent it on iTunes if you can. Bye.